30, 35 down the sidelines to the 40, makes a move to the 45, the 50, he's to the 40, he could go, he's at the 25, the 20, they dive at him, they miss him, he's in the end zone, touchdown!
Launches the throw down toward the goal line, going up, ball tipped in the air, caught, touchdown!
Reverses his field, got a block from Pittman, going deep, got a man in the end zone, touchdown!
It's a man's game tonight now, you know that. Everybody watching tonight.
And welcome everybody to the 2021 NFL Draft Pregame Show for the Big Uglies right here on UndefinedRadio.com. We are streaming live through YouTube right now, which is a first for us, really.
Yeah, it's a whole new territory. Typically, we do all of our live streaming on Facebook. So if you're a first-time viewer of the Big Uglies, we want to welcome all of you. That man is your host, Chad Martin. I'm the co-host here, JC Martin. And tonight we're going to break down all things surrounding round one of the NFL Draft. We're going to run down through my mock draft. Hey, if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, hop into the chat. Let us know what you think. And, if we see it fast enough, we'll try to respond. Like I said, we're kind of new to this whole YouTube aspect of it as well. So we're getting adjusted there. So this is our trial run before tomorrow night. This is an event that I personally, and Chad, maybe you can speak to this yourself, but I look forward to this all year round.
I do too. I mean, to me, it's a lot of fun. We love football, obviously. Greatest sport ever created.
Greatest team
by
sport.
far. I love football.
But, it's weird, though, because I almost suffer like and I'm not trying to make light here, but I almost suffer like a seasonal depression after the draft. Because I've built this whole event up so much in my head, getting ready for it, like watching all these videos about prospects and all these different people's inputs. You've seen 80,000 mock drafts by this point. We're just a hair over 24 hours away from the start of round one. But by the time that Saturday it comes to an end, when I wake up on Sunday, I'm just going to be like, man, the only thing to, football-wise to look forward to now is like rookie minicamp, which we won't see. We'll just hear discussions about.
That's right.
OTAs, seems like they may not even happen this year.
Well,
because the NFLPA has come out and they telling players, hey, we didn't do it last year.
That's right.
It's voluntary. We're still kind of in a pandemic, so we didn't do it last year. Guess what? That was fine. We'll just not do it again this year.
And I'm sure that, they've added a game this year, right?
Right.
So
and taking away a preseason game.
Taking away a preseason game, adding another game, regular season game, which,
look, I get that. I get that players don't want to play the preseason.
Sure.
And that's fine if you're guaranteed a roster spot.
That's right.
Like Dak Prescott doesn't have to play preseason.
No.
Ezekiel Elliott doesn't have to play preseason.
That's right.
Who are some other guys that don't have to? Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to play preseason.
And there's tons of those guys that don't.
They don't. But if you're a guy,
a bubble guy,
especially this weekend, think about Saturday in particular. Not the beginning of Saturday, but the end of Saturday.
What are you talking about?
When
round 4
6,
through 7, right?
Well, round 4, you're probably going to make the team. Rounds 5 through 7, it's a lot less likely.
Yeah.
And those guys need those preseason games, not for the team that they got drafted by.
No, for other teams.
If you get drafted by the Ravens on Saturday in round 6, and you go out there and you do your thing as best you can during preseason, you're not really putting out tape for the Ravens. You are. They have first choice, but if they cut you, now you've generated tape for the other teams as well. Right.
And there's a lot of that you're going to have to do to make these spots because there's just not enough snaps. Now, if you're talking about no OTAs or going to these voluntary things, you're decreasing your snap count, your view count that these guys are going to have on you. So, I mean, there's a plus side and a minus side to doing these things.
So this is where I get brought down after the draft because now that means I don't have anything to look forward to until training camp.
That's right. And there's a lot of that too. But you're also, again, you're talking about going out there on one of the biggest 3-day periods that you're going to have for a young NFL player, potential player, to make a career. Your time is limited in the NFL anyway. It's a very short career.
Average career is about 3 years.
And that can be quick and tragic for a lot of guys who are trying to actually make a team. Not only make a team, but make a career and make a living out of doing something like this because it comes and goes quickly.
Now, we have seen some late-round gems that have absolutely stuck around over the years. I mean, you think about, of course, Tom Brady in the 6th round. Julian Edelman was a 7th-round pick.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember about it was really, I guess, the 2010s, late, 2000s. Marquise Colston, wide receiver for the Saints. Dude was a 7th-round steal. He's so highly productive.
Well, but that's kind of the other thing,
So
too.
it's
That's what I love about the draft.
It's a weird thing. You
People-
never know where you're going to find an absolute gem or if you're going to grab early on a guy and get an absolute turd.
Well, no, but there's no, you have no idea who's going to shake out to be what. I mean, from what school have these guys played at? What competition have they really played at? We talk about this all the time, how, all right, high school to college is a vastly different skill set level. And
Without
that
question.
the difference from college to pro is the same. It's that big of a gap because the best of the best players are playing at the NFL level.
Absolutely.
I mean, so your third-string guys on an NFL bench are still some of your best college players.
Right. Every guy that's playing in the NFL were one of the best teams on their college team.
Exactly.
Or one of the best players on their college team.
That's right, which is a big deal. That makes a big difference. And so it decreases the level. Like some of these guys are just going off in some of these conferences putting up these huge numbers.
Right. But they're not playing anybody.
Not playing anybody. So you get in the NFL where everybody's big, everybody's fast. Only a few fraction of a second separate the real fast players in the NFL level.
Right.
That means what are your true skills? That's where you see your true skills shine. And vice versa. You may see some of these guys that are drafted real low, but again, maybe they didn't play anybody. But they have this really great talent, and now we get to see it.
And, in some years it's strange as well because it all depends on not necessarily just the player, but team needs as well when it comes to the NFL draft, especially like in round 1. Because you can, several years in, you'll be like, well, this is the second best player. If you're just looking at productivity, athleticism, all of his traits, project him to be the second best overall talent in a draft. But he plays, weak side linebacker. But the teams that are drafting need quarterbacks. They need offensive line. They need an edge rusher. They need a safety or a corner. That linebacker, who's the second best overall talent, may not go to pick 8, pick 9, pick 14, pick 15. Also, these teams are taking in other factors like character issues. I mean, how many times have we seen guys slip because of a quote-unquote character issue, which either had merit or didn't have merit, but they still slide all the same.
Right. It
La'el Collins, right tackle for the Cowboys, perfect example. Top 10 talent going into that draft. But because of I think it was a murder investigation. I think his ex-girlfriend had gotten killed or something like that. And, of course, La'el Collins was under the microscope because it was his ex-girlfriend. And I think he went undrafted all the way. Altogether went undrafted.
All because of a rumor that he could have had something to do with it that was so unfounded.
Right.
But somebody put it out there.
And that cost him millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, he was pretty lucky that the Cowboys said, you know what, we're not going to let you suffer quite like that.
Hey, we know you're a stud.
Yeah.
We don't think you had anything to do with this. You want to join the greatest offensive line in football? At the time.
Yeah. And
currently
still,
not that.
And paid him pretty good. They didn't just sit there and say, hey, this is not what we're going to, you lost out on all that money.
He didn't make that first round money, though.
No, but he still made good money.
And then he got the contract extension. That's
Exactly.
really where he made his money.
That's right. So, which is cool to see. All right, so we're going to talk about, real quick, we're going to go through your mock draft. This is round 1.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this a little bit before we get in, because tomorrow, Thursday night, we are starting at 6:45, so exactly 24 hours from now.
Yeah, boy.
We're getting ready for the draft. We're going to see what all these amazing prognosticators out there who are talking all this trash about what they know and see just how much they don't know when it comes to this draft.
This is misinformation season.
That's right.
That's what this time of year is all about going into tomorrow night.
So believe nothing.
Because there's reporters and there's ex-scouts and there's current scouts that are reaching out to teams like, hey, what's your feeling on this guy and this guy? And all these reports leak out, But if you're contacting me and you want to know what I'm about to do, I'm about to tell you the exact wrong thing.
Oh, I know it.
If my team needs an edge rusher, which thank God, this isn't really the draft for a first-round edge rusher.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're picking later in the first round, fine. But there's a lot of edge rushing depth. There's a lot of defensive tackle depth. But it's not at the top end of this class.
Sure.
Like, it's a very top-heavy, or as far as the top part of it, it's very weak, actually. But the day two guys, there's a ton of day two guys I would take at both edge rusher and defensive tackle for this particular draft.
No doubt. All right, so let's talk about this. All right, let's see what you got here.
All right, so, I mean, of course, the first pick is who we all think it's going to be. I mean, Jacksonville Jaguars will take Trevor Lawrence, quarterback out of Clemson. That shouldn't surprise anyone at this point.
No.
He's been the projected first-round pick. Oh, God. It feels like since he stepped on the field at Clemson, really. But he's torn it up. Now, where I kind of made things interesting already is I approached this.
Oh, you went different with the Jets.
Yeah, so I didn't want to go through this the traditional way. Like, I didn't put any trades in this mock draft. This is just straight up, if everyone stayed where they are, who I would take if I was those teams.
Exactly.
So with the Jets, I opted to not draft the ceiling. I didn't draft the ceiling. I drafted the floor.
Yeah.
Give me the high floor over the high ceiling. And I took the second best quarterback in this draft. The New York Jets select Justin Fields, quarterback out of Ohio State, by way of Georgia.
But just about everybody has Zach Wilson going to the Jets. So
Right.
These are all mock drafts. You see a ton of different mock drafts because these guys are talking every day. They have to have something to talk about. So you'll hear.
And they have to generate new content, so they'll do 47 mock drafts and
right.
just do them in slightly different ways.
Yeah, so that's why you see all these different things and some of these crazy things that you'll see. There's a reason some of these are so crazy because they're just like, what if?
Yeah, we just got to get content out there.
Yeah, so, but, I mean,
Create
if I
a
was
narrative.
the Jets, I mean, Justin Fields makes so much sense here.
All he has ever done in college football is show you why he should be, if not number one overall, but number two overall.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude went out there, absolutely tore it up for Ohio State. Of course, last year they played less games because the Big Ten started their season late because they tried to be proactive about COVID. Realized we can probably still play, but we shouldn't have opened our mouths already. So
Yeah, that's right.
they started late. They only played 6 regular season games. Of course, Ohio State goes into the playoffs after Dabo Swinney said that Ohio State shouldn't be there because they only played 6 games and absolutely smashed Clemson and Trevor Lawrence in the mouth.
Yep.
I mean, Justin Fields got his ribs all kinds of jacked up and only threw for 6 touchdowns in that game.
That's right.
But this creates an opportunity for San Francisco here at number 3. Now, the Niners have traded up. They went from 12 to 3, gave up 3 first-round picks to get to this spot with in a trade with the Dolphins.
Boy,
So, San Francisco is very
they're
happy.
getting a quarterback.
Yeah. Oh,
You don't go up that high and give away the farm without getting a quarterback.
right. If you're giving that
You're
kind of
going for a
capital
quarterback.
and moving that distance in the first round, you're getting a franchise quarterback.
Yes, absolutely.
So San Francisco here, they're very happy that Zach Wilson just fell into their lap. Of course, he's a quarterback out of BYU. The reason I didn't have Wilson going to the Jets is it's the opposite of Fields. Fields has gone out there against high-level competition every single week and just absolutely torched everyone. Ripped them apart either through the air or on the ground. I think Fields ran in the 4.4, 4.5 range at his pro day. Of course, these aren't, wasn't the NFL Combine. So if you look at these 40 times this year, go ahead and add about 0.06 seconds on there.
That's right.
Just that little safety room because these were hand clock operated. So Zach Wilson falls to the 49ers in the sense that you could call anyone from BYU a falling pick, but he lands right there. So that puts Atlanta in probably the most fun position in this entire draft. Atlanta can do literally whatever they want with this pick.
Well, they could, and for the longest, a lot of people have Trey Lance going here to Atlanta. There's a lot of speculation.
You see a few different guys.
You
on
do,
this.
but you've got 2 that stand out right here.
Right. So there's of course Trey Lance in this situation. Now,
That's right.
most mock drafts have Trey Lance going to the Niners with Justin Fields falling to
That's
Atlanta
right.
at 4.
Exactly.
But you'll see a quarterback for Atlanta, or you see Kyle Pitts.
Exactly.
Now, because I'm not doing trades, I've got Kyle Pitts here at 4 with Atlanta. Of course, he's the tight end out of Florida that everyone seems to believe is basically a wide receiver with a slightly larger frame.
Oh, yeah.
Crisp
Dude's
route
absolute
runnings.
beast.
Crisp routes, and super fast, big hands, great catch radius. Dude just goes up there, and because he wears 84, people want to compare him to Randy Moss.
Sure.
Which, as a tight end, if you can get a comparison to Randy Moss, you're doing everything right.
Yeah. What about Cincinnati? Number 5, you got Panay Sewell.
So, with Cincinnati, it comes down to one of two guys.
That's right.
Do you want to protect Joe Burrow,
Mm-hmm.
or do you want to give Joe Burrow a weapon?
That's right. That means only 2 people could go here that I think they would do.
Right. But you can make an argument for 3, I think. But there's definitely 2. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely 2 for sure. I've argued that protecting your quarterback, protecting your franchise quarterback that you just
is the
drafted
key.
last year, who's already suffered an ACL because you couldn't protect him, that is the most essential
That's
thing.
right.
If you take a quarterback, you want him on the field. He can't produce from the sidelines or the hospital or his couch. So here I have Cincinnati taking Panay Sewell, offensive tackle out of Oregon.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move on their part. I mean, you spent way too much. I mean, you've got this franchise quarterback that you're talking about. There's no way you can let him endure another season like he did in his rookie year.
Oh,
just
absolutely
getting
not.
destroyed back there. So, yeah, I agree. I think that's something they're going to have to do. All right, you got Miami coming in at number 6.
Yeah, so this one's weird. I have them taking Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU. He set out in 2020, but his 2019 season absolutely tore it up. Helped LSU on that run to the national championship there with Joe Burrow. But now Tua gets a weapon in Miami. However, and you take this with a grain of salt, because Miami just did trade one of their starting tackles.
Yes, they did.
They traded him to the Washington football team, gave him away, and then the teams are going to swap 7th-round picks.
Yeah.
So Miami could very easily be in the market for a tackle. If these, I think 5 and 6, you can flop them. If Cincinnati takes Panay Sewell, Miami might take Jamar Chase and then try to get a tackle in the 2nd, 3rd round. And Miami's got another pick in this first round. Let's not forget that.
That's right. And that's, 18 or something?
Yes, it's 18. So if Cincinnati goes Panay Sewell, you could still see Miami take Jamar Chase here as the best available player, or they could get a Rashawn Slater, and then maybe try to address one of the later wide receivers. I think getting Jamar Chase here might be the best bet, and then maybe picking up a tackle later on.
All right, number 7, Detroit Lions coming in. You've got them taking Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, Alabama.
Yeah, so I know Devontae Smith gets all the hype and the credit. And look, I'm not trying to take away from him. He had a stellar year last year. It's a wide receiver that won a Heisman. It's a very difficult thing to do for that position.
That's right.
But Jalen Waddle's the most talented receiver on Alabama. The reason Devontae Smith got all those opportunities at Alabama was because Jalen Waddle was hurt last season. So, but the Lions could go in a bunch of different directions. I mean,
man, they need help everywhere.
They lost all their weapons on offense, which is why I gave them Jalen Waddle. It makes a lot of sense. However, they've had one Pro Bowl offensive lineman since the turn of the century, and that was T.J. Lang. So they could use help there. They could use a linebacker. They could use like a Micah Parsons or a J.O.K., Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Or, they could be in that secondary, a Surtain or even a Horn. Maybe if you want to make the argument, I think it's still a little bit of a reach, but Greg Newsome, the second out of Northwestern as well. But, yeah, I'm going to go ahead. You just traded for Jared Goff. You ran Sam, I almost called him Sam Bradford. Matt Stafford.
That's good.
So Matt Stafford's gone. You got Jared Goff in there. Get him some weapons. There's Jalen Waddle because you are not happy with what you got there in that wide receiver room.
Yeah, all right. At 8, we got Carolina Panthers. You got J.C. Horn going here, cornerback from South Carolina.
Yeah, so there's a lot of word going around right now that the Carolina Panthers are absolutely in love with J.C. Horn. And I get it. I'm a Cowboys fan. So I want the Cowboys to end up with either Horn or Surtain. I do. They're both over 6 foot tall. I think they're like 6'1", 6'2". They're both over 200 pounds. They're both lightning fast. The difference in these two corners is that Surtain is very fundamentally sound, has great technique. Of course, his dad was an NFL corner as well. Pat Surtain played for the Dolphins and the Chiefs. Super talented. So this guy knows how to play the position. So he learned from his dad. Then he goes to Alabama, where he's coached up by Nick Saban, who was the defensive back himself. He was paired there with Trayvon Diggs. So he's had nothing but great people to learn from. J.C. Horn, on the other hand, not as fundamentally sound. Surtain's a better zone corner, where Horn is a better press man-to-man. Horn's a dog.
Yeah.
He's going to get in your face. He's going to bark at you. He's built from that Jalen Ramsey mold. He's not quite as talented as Jalen Ramsey, but he's built from that same vein. He's that guy who will boost all the energy of the entire defense with just how aggressively he attacks. He's not the best tackler, but it's not for a lack of trying.
That's right.
That dude is not scared to get in there, lower his shoulder, and lay some lumber on somebody. So I've got Carolina there taking Horn, corner out of South Carolina.
Number 9, we got Denver Broncos. Picking up Trey Lance right here, quarterback. But so, having said that, now this mock draft you did earlier in the day before this trade came up with Minnesota, wasn't it?
No, Carolina.
No, Carolina, I mean. So, who did they, wait, they got, did Denver get Teddy Bridgewater?
They got Teddy Bridgewater.
That's who they got, right?
Teddy Two Gloves.
There you go.
So Teddy Two Gloves is headed to Denver. Now, I like Bridgewater. I was a big fan of him at Louisville in college, and then when he got to Minnesota before he started getting just destroyed by every defensive player that stepped on the field against. But Bridgewater's not that long-term answer. You know, yeah, it's going to push Drew Lock. People say that Denver still likes Drew Lock. I don't think they're liking Drew Lock as much as they're trying to let on. Teddy Bridgewater is a serviceable quarterback, but he is not your long-term answer. I don't think this especially since he has a short contract.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of time left on that deal. And you can make the same argument with the Panthers. The Panthers could be looking at a quarterback here at number 8 as well, because they traded for Sam Darnold, but they could pick up his 5th-year option, but that just means they only have 2 years on that deal as well.
Yeah.
So don't put it past Carolina or Denver to take a quarterback. So since Denver sat there at 9, the way this played out, Trey Lance falls right into their lap. Plus, he played at North Dakota State, so it's a lower class of football. It's the same place that produced Carson Wentz. So, and they only played 1 game last year. It was an exhibition. And you know what? Trey Lance didn't look just great in it. He was okay. He was fine. So he doesn't have a lot of great tape out there, but this is another one of those guys, high ceiling, low floor.
Yeah.
You don't know he's a developmental project. Give him a year. Give him 2 years behind Teddy Bridgewater. Let him learn, and maybe the Denver Broncos will have something there.
Yeah, they're still looking for the next John Elway, and they seem to just picking, trying to, every season they're trying to find the new John Elway.
But they reach.
They reach all the time. Number 10, Dallas Cowboys. You got taking Patrick Surtain the second here. We've talked about this a lot.
Right. So I was talking earlier when the Panthers were on the clock taking J.C. Horn, that I'm completely cool with whichever one the Cowboys get.
Yes.
If both of these guys were to fall to Dallas, though, I would go with Surtain, just because he's not as grabby as Horn. J.C. Horn played 7 games last year. In those 7 games, he drew 5 pass interference flags. I do not want that. I like the mentality. I like the swagger. I like the attitude that Horn has. But I will take the technician that Surtain has. As well as, since he came from Alabama, there's already a trust that he has with Trayvon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
They played together for 3 years, so you can, or 2 years rather. But you can have Diggs on one side. You can have Surtain on the other, because that's how Dan Quinn likes to run his defense. He doesn't like to do the whole traveling corners. He doesn't stick his top corner on the top receiver and have him follow him the whole game. You know, we didn't see that at all in Seattle. Richard Sherman had a side, Brandon Browner had a side, and they just took care of their part of the field. You can do that there. I think it would make everything easier for Surtain, because playing corner in the NFL is hard. It's probably the hardest position to adjust to, making the leap from college to the NFL.
Sure.
Yes, quarterback's difficult, but you can dumb down a playbook for a quarterback and make them successful.
No, that's absolutely
It
correct.
is much harder to do that for a corner. So if you have that familiarity with Diggs, I like Dan Quinn's scheme. I think it'll work out there. So I'm taking Pat Surtain to the Cowboys with pick 10.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so we're going to quickly go through these, the next part of this thing. I think the top 10 is really, it's going to be, what's going to happen in this top 10 tomorrow is really going to change the landscape of the rest of this 2/3 of this draft.
And like I said, this is without
trades, which we fully expect is coming. There are going to be some teams that are going to try to fight, especially depending on what happens in this quarterback situation up here.
I mean, there's already talks about Philadelphia wants to trade back up, probably to 8 with Carolina. There's discussions that New England and Washington want to try to get up to 7 or 8, possibly. They don't want to they don't want Carolina or Denver to be in a situation to take one or both of the quarterbacks that are still left.
Yeah, which, I mean, I wouldn't either. I mean, because there's a lot happening right there that you could do. I'm going to put these up. We'll put up this these next 11 picks or so right here just to run down you guys real quick. So you've got New York Giants taking Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle, guard, Northwestern.
They've suffered so long on the offensive line. They keep drafting guys thinking it's going to fix it, and it never does. Rashawn Slater will absolutely help secure that offensive line there for the Giants.
Philadelphia Eagles at number 12. You got Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Alabama.
They have been swinging and missing on wide receivers for some time now. They took Jalen Reagor last year. Minnesota laughed at them on camera. Laughed at the Eagles. I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings front office.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they knew they were taking Justin Jefferson.
That's right.
The Eagles this time, though, they get a fantastic player, Heisman winner, Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Alabama.
13, Chargers are taking Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle, Virginia Tech.
Last year, they got the quarterback of the future. Well, now you got to protect that investment there. So that's why Christian Darrisaw goes to the Chargers at 13. This is one of those things where the Chargers might be willing to move up to make sure that they secure. If Rashawn Slater fell like that, best believe the Chargers will be blowing the Cowboys up trying to get Rashawn Slater.
Oh, no doubt. You've got, let's see, speaking of Minnesota Vikings, you got them taking Elijah Vera Tucker.
Absolutely. So need to bolster that offensive line. They love to run the ball with Dalvin Cook. He's been very, very productive for him. And yes, I don't think that they have the answer with, what's his name, Kirk Cousins at quarterback.
That's right.
But this is a fairly deep quarterback class as well, especially like day 2 guys, Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask. If you can get one of those guys in there, plus you already have your franchise left tackle or any real reinforcement on the offensive line, because Vera Tucker is versatile. He can do it all. I think that's a smart move for the Vikings.
All right, speaking of quarterbacks, New England Patriots take Mac Jones, quarterback from Alabama at number 15. Now, we're saying this, and JC, we talked about this, where we haven't talked about trades or anything. It's fully expected you could see some movement, especially from the New England Patriots tomorrow, depending on how this plays out. But
and don't rule out the Chicago Bears either. They could also be interested in moving up.
Absolutely.
However, in this situation, everyone's staying pat. Mac Jones falls to the Patriots. I had them taking him just because he can sit behind Cam Newton for a year, pick up a few things, but also learn from Josh McDaniels how Josh wants that offense run. I am not a huge Mac Jones fan. I don't really believe him. I think he's more of a product of the talent around him than his actual ability. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I've got him right there at 15 to the New England Patriots.
16, Arizona Cardinals, Greg Newsom II, cornerback from Northwestern.
Yeah. So this whole time, Arizona's been calling everybody in front of them. Once they saw J.C. Horn go at 8, they have been trying to call Denver. They've been trying to call Dallas. Really those two teams, because they want either Horn or Surtain.
That's right.
They want one of those guys because they just lost Patrick Peterson this offseason to the Vikings. So they're trying to replenish talent, but they end up sitting tight here. Take Greg Newsom II, the cornerback out of Northwestern.
Las Vegas Raiders take Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State.
It's another one of those things where the talent fell to him. Like, people are sleeping on Micah Parsons in this draft because of quote-unquote maturity issues. You know, whatever that means. But to Parsons' credit, he's kind of come out and addressed and said, yeah, I did have maturity issues, and he's owning it. The talent speaks for itself with Micah Parsons. You just got to make sure he's dedicated to football.
That's right.
I don't know if putting him in Sin City is necessarily the greatest thing.
Probably not.
But it's the Raiders, and the Raiders are always willing to take crazy chances on very talented guys. Raiders take Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State.
Number 18, Miami Dolphins. Tevin Jenkins, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so I was talking earlier when they took Jamar Chase about how they also need a new tackle now that Eric Flowers is out the door, and you got to protect Tua. So here they go ahead and do that. They shore it up by taking Tevin Jenkins and have two anchors there. They took Austin Jackson, the tackle, in the first round last year. So they got two young offensive tackles on rookie deals to go with that young quarterback also on a rookie deal. They're trying to maximize this window of opportunity that they have.
Number 19, you got the Washington football team taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, linebacker from Notre Dame.
Yeah, JOK. He's a fantastically skilled linebacker, which is one of the few weaknesses on this super talented Washington team as far as their defense goes. Now, with JOK, the weird thing is he's an undersized linebacker and as far as weight goes.
Yeah.
Like, he's tall, he's rangy, he's fast, he can cover a lot of ground. He's basically like Isaiah Simmons was coming out of Clemson, the guy that the Cardinals took. The problem is with JOK, Washington can learn a lesson from Arizona and not stick him in 87 spots. Like, oh yeah, you're a rookie to the NFL. Well, here, instead of giving you a job to do, we're going to give you 47 jobs and see if you can do any of them halfway decently. So with JOK, like, if they're going to stick him at linebacker, put him at linebacker. If they're going to put him at edge rusher, put him at edge rusher. But just make it a dedicated thing is my only advice to them.
All right, you've got 20 Chicago Bears taking Rashad Bateman, wide receiver from Minnesota.
Yeah, so Chicago is upset. They missed out on all the first-round level quarterbacks.
Yes.
Not that I think that Mac Jones is a first-round quarterback, but that's just how it's going to shake out. But they do have the red rifle. They have Andy Dalton, who's a serviceable quarterback for sure, but they got to get him some more weapons. We saw how they just didn't have enough. I don't know if that was necessarily enough weapons for Trubisky or Trubisky just couldn't do enough to maximize the weapons.
Yeah, really.
But they're not taking chances. Rashad Bateman's fallen into their lap. Get another wide receiver out there for the Chicago Bears.
All right, we're going to run through these next few picks. I'm just going to go ahead and read these out. Then I want to ask you a good question out of this. So we've got 21 Colts are taking Kwity Paye. He's an edge rusher from Michigan. You got Tennessee Titans taking Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher from Georgia. New York Jets taking Caleb Farley, cornerback from Virginia Tech. Pittsburgh Steelers taking Najee Harris, running back from Alabama. Jacksonville Jaguars taking Christian Barmore, defensive tackle from Alabama. Cleveland Browns going off Zaven Collins, linebacker from Tulsa. Baltimore Ravens taking Terrence Marshall, wide receiver out of LSU. New Orleans Saints taking Jalen Phillips, edge rusher from Miami. Green Bay Packers taking Kadarius Toney, wide receiver from Florida. Buffalo Bills taking Jason Owe, linebacker and edge rusher, kind of a combo thing from Penn State. Baltimore Ravens, Trayvon Moehrig, safety from TCU. And Tampa Bay taking Travis Etienne, running back from Clemson. Now, having said that, and we've kind of gone through this, and you got a lot of talent still at the bottom end of this first round right here. Who do you really see moving from these bottom positions right here? Because we know Tampa Bay is Tom Brady's looking for number 8. They're not playing around. They just signed what's his doodle to what? What was his contract? $6.5 million. What did they sign him to? Antonio Brown today.
I didn't look at the numbers. I just saw that they had signed him.
I've got to look at that for tomorrow. But yeah, so they just signed him. They got him done.
Yeah, and they still have Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. So they're returning all their starters from last year's team.
That's right.
All 22 starters are coming back. So it's weird to find that spot that they need. They need some depth at linebacker, which they don't have. They have 2 super solid linebackers.
That's right.
One of them that's a budgeting superstar. They could use some defensive tackle help. So I was considering Levi Onwuzurike, the defensive tackle out of Washington here. I figure I'd just give Tom Brady another playmaker because if Tampa Bay doesn't take Etienne at 2 or at 32, pick 33, the first pick of the second round, Etienne would go to Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Keep Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne there together, which I know Jacksonville fans, you're like, oh, but we got James Robinson. He was a steal last year, and he was productive. That's true.
All right, now you got 2.
But Travis Etienne is a better player.
Yes, no doubt. So it's going to be interesting to see because literally Tampa Bay can do whatever they want to. Returning all those stars from they can do anything they want. And it's really going to be like, where do we think we could use the biggest? I think I'm with you. I think they're looking for backup help to see what kind of stuff can we get in backup that can be a future superstar for us. I mean, there's so many good players still available now. We talked about also the difference between those top 10 players coming out, really.
Yeah.
The drop off that you kind of get, but there's still some great talent in this draft.
I would say the drop off between like the top tier guys and the second tier guys is probably around or right after 14.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now,
definitely.
Like I said, Micah Parsons is a wild card. He could go at 7 in this draft. He could go in the 20s, for all I know. And that's just going to come down to teams and what their feelings are about him and his maturity.
It's going to be interesting.
Because he's top 10 talent.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that either.
But some of these picks, especially towards the end of the first round, I would look at a team, look at kind of what they need, and I would get them to draft a guy. And then I look at the next team, it's like, oh, well, man, they could have used that previous guy, but he's gone. Now what do? You got to course correct here.
Well, tomorrow's going to be interesting. The draft is less than 24 hours away. We will be here all night long. You can watch us live on YouTube. You can go on undefinedradio.com. You can download the Undefined Radio app off the Google Play Store, the iTunes App Store. On your Alexa device, Siri, you can listen to us anywhere you're at. It's going to be fun. We will be in studio all night long.
I've got some questions for you, big man.
Oh, crap.
So have you seen the green room? There's not as many guys going to Cleveland for this year's draft.
Yeah, sure.
Because, of course, last year everyone was at home. This year they're actually going to be able to bring some guys. But instead of having one massive green room with all these tables and people with their families and their agents and all that, they've made little individual green rooms, and they're super nice. Got these nice couches, huge flat screen TVs in there that are personalized for them, so they can watch the draft coverage, but also I think it's going to show like their own highlight tapes and all that. Plenty of space for their rooms, but they're just kind of isolated in like these really lavish kind of cubicles.
They're like in the Raft on a Marvel show.
Yeah.
They got these main supervillains in these nice little rooms all shacked up in the middle of an ocean.
So it's
welcome to Cleveland.
Super cool. Way to keep them separated. Try to, I guess, not super spread.
I guess.
There was also some draft news that came out today, and I'm trying to remember who it was. I want to say it was Caleb Farley, if I'm not mistaken, was expected to, of course, go to Cleveland for the draft. Because he's got a back issue, which is the only reason he's fallen. Before, a month and a half ago, he was considered the best corner in this draft.
That's right.
Over Surtain, over Horn. So talent-wise, Caleb Farley's a stud. Problem is he's got a back injury.
Yep.
He had back surgery, second back procedure, by the way, in his history. And backs just typically don't get better, and they're a very, very scary thing. And so it's very hard to invest a high-end draft pick, especially in those top 10 picks, on someone with 2 back procedures.
So do you see he has a situation where he falls completely out of round 1, day 1?
I could see it, yeah.
I mean, where people are just like, I'm just not going to take the chance on this dude. I
tell you what, if I was a team that needs a corner, and I'm sitting there in the early part of the second round, and he's just sitting there,
I think you got to take him.
I don't see
why you wouldn't.
Like, I'll throw away a second round pick. I'm not throwing away a first round. That's just not going to happen. But second round, yeah, absolutely.
That's what I keep thinking about that, and I was like, man, this dude,
even
it'd be
if you only
hard to
got
pass up.
marginal production, even if he, has issues with the injury, like you think about Des Bryant. Des Bryant had a lot of back issues.
Yes.
In his time with the Cowboys, still super productive.
Well, exactly. And
Caleb Farley could be that guy.
I think there's some of that too that's going on. I will be interested. That's going to be one of those things I'm interested to see how it plays out tomorrow night.
Oh, but going back to my point, Farley was expected to go to Cleveland, has tested positive for COVID.
Good job there, buddy.
So he will not be in Cleveland.
Oops. Oops. Well, there you go. First victim of the NFL draft right there.
And some of these guys, like, edge rusher is such a premier position.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, there's not a lot of round one talent. There's guys who have a round one ceiling.
Sure.
But they're projects. Like Azeez Ojulari. Dude could be a absolute nightmare in the NFL. But he's not going to be day one.
No.
He's going to have to be coached up. Same with Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is probably the best edge rusher in this class, but he's not even a polished product. That's why I didn't have any edge rushers going until
later.
21, 22.
Yeah.
And then Jason Owe, honestly, he's a day two talent. He's not a day one, but because of the position.
Yeah.
Because of need for Buffalo, I would think they would take a flyer on him.
I think that's completely possible. Definitely.
I would love Trevon Moehrig to fall to 44 to Dallas, but he's just too good. It's not going to happen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate y'all tuning in for our little pregame show for tomorrow night before the draft gets started tomorrow night. Actually,
see ya, baby.
Most of us here just so we could test out the stream, make sure everything was functioning correctly. So we decided, what the heck, let's go ahead and talk about this mock draft tonight. Because when we start tomorrow, buddy, we're getting ready.
Oh yeah.
Get wait for these teams to be on the clock, talking football all night
because
long.
we can always do all these different mocks, and you can listen to everyone's mock, but
yeah,
it's not a sure thing until it happens.
No, it really isn't. That's what makes the draft so fun, because you never know what's going to happen with it.
Because on average, there's going to be probably 4 to 8 absolute surprises. Someone's going to get drafted way higher than they should. Someone's going to fall way further than they should. Mm-hmm. I mean, think back to Aaron Rodgers, for God's sakes. Falling into the mid-20s to the Packers in his draft when he should have gone number 1 overall. Yeah, I mean, that was the discussion going on the draft. Is it Alex Smith or is it Aaron Rodgers?
Yep.
And when it wasn't Aaron Rodgers, he just kept falling.
Which is crazy to think. That's so wild how that played out like that.
Yeah, Dallas, you should have taken him.
Yep, craziness. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate it. Let us know what you think. You comment in the comment section below. Who's your team going to take? How do you think it'll pan out? Join us tomorrow night, 6:45 p.m. on UndefinedRadio.com, right here on our YouTube channel. If you want to watch us live, become a participant in the discussion. Love to have you. Again, you can download the free Undefined Radio app. Listen to us there. Take it with you wherever you go, on your Alexa device, your Siri device, wherever you can get Undefined Radio. Or you can just go to the UndefinedRadio.com website. We'll be right there as well. Till then, that's JC. This is Chad. We'll